I've had more than 700 death threats and rape threats, including threats to murder my family as well. And in the last 4 years, I stopped being an MP 2024, but in the last 4 years, I haven't had a day when I haven't had a live police investigation or a live court case going on. And that, I'm afraid, is the norm now.
It's time to chat WTF, the week that finished, looking back at a busy news week with our political big brains. This week, former Labour Culture Secretary Sir Ben Bradshaw and former Conservative Cabinet Minister Dame Penny Mordaunt. Welcome to you both.
Hi, Cathy.
Well, I can't hear Penny, but I'm assuming she's on the line. I want to start, of course, with a reflection on the really shocking news that the police have opened a murder investigation into the death of Anne Widdecombe. Penny, I assume that you met her and, wanted to get your thoughts really on this.
Yes, I mean, I think like everyone else, I'm very shocked and sad at this news. I have known her for a long, long time. I worked with her and for her under both John Major and William Hague. And I just think this is I mean, awful news that she's died, but as we are learning that she's been killed in this horrible way, it's incredibly shocking and sad. I mean, I think this is the third colleague who has been killed in such a horrible way. It's a dreadful feeling.
And obviously it is a murder investigation. We don't know the details yet and the detailed circumstances, but we had a statement from the Prime Minister talking about the importance of rising above any political differences. Your thoughts on that, Penny?
Well, of course, and I think that that is the response that we have had from all sides of the political spectrum. I think this is shocking. She was, although she was a formidable and lively person, she was an elderly lady, and just killed in what sounds like to be an extremely violent way. So. We hope that the police will be able to find the person responsible for this swiftly, as they're clearly a very dangerous individual.
And Ben, as Penny pointed out, we've had the murder of Joe Cox, David Ames. We don't know the details yet, of course, but just the idea of political violence is something that is very hard to come to terms with, isn't it?
It's really worrying. I mean, most MPs put themselves forward for election with the best of intentions. They want to do good for the country. They're exposed increasingly to levels of abuse which I don't think any politicians in this country have seen ever in history. And the polarisation and the role of social media and everything else is really worrying. And it does feel as if we're at a moment in this country where everybody collectively needs to come together and say, let's dial down some of this rhetoric. I mean, the great thing about Anne was I didn't agree with her on almost anything, but our conversations and our debates were always very courteous. She was very funny. She was a real character. And that's the sort of politics that we want, where people can disagree in a civilised way. Again, we probably shouldn't assume that this was political, but we don't know, and that may become clear in the next few minutes.
But Nigel Farage has been speaking recently about how he feared for his safety, and hence he needed to spend on security. We need to reflect on that too, don't we? He's the leader of Reform, and Anne Widdecombe was a member of his party.
Well, Penny will know more about this as a former defence minister than me, but the police, I think, do a very, very good job, intelligence-based job, at providing the support, security support for MPs that they feel is required. Now, whether that needs reassessing and revisiting as a result of what's happened, I think it's a bit soon to say that, because we need to wait and see what was behind this. But there's no doubt that MPs face threats from far right, far left, from people paid by the Russians to set fire to their homes, and there's a growing, I think, sense of fear. And if people feel frightened about going into politics, we're not going to get people people of calibre and ambition and ability to put them forward for public office and for election, and that's a very dangerous thing for democracy.
Penny, what are your thoughts on whether there are sufficient protections for politicians and former MPs?
Look, what I would say is, I mean, I've had more than 700 death threats and rape threats, including threats to murder my family as well. And in the last 4 years, I stopped being an MP 2024, but in the last 4 years, I haven't had a day when I haven't had a live police investigation or a live court case going on. And that, I'm afraid, is the norm now. People listening to this, your member of parliament, and actually probably your ex-members of parliament as well, that's what they have to put up with. So look, and I speak as someone that wants to go back into parliament. I always say, I have many more happy stories to tell you than bad. But I think the police do a good job. I think there are things that could be faster, but Parliament now does look after its members well. And I would just say I've had twice as many people convicted for doing bad things against me than Nigel Farage has had people convicted. And many MPs have had horrific death threats from all sorts of quarters. So this is not exceptional, and it also means we still should be subject to scrutiny about donations. If people need additional security and you're a member of parliament, it would be provided for you. I suspect now Nigel Farage is not a member of parliament. There are some alternative arrangements being put in place for him, but both the parliamentary authorities and the police would be cited on that. Just because we face threats does not excuse us from facing accountability for political donations that are made to us. And, I say that as somebody that knows exactly and is very sympathetic to, what Nigel Farage will have undoubtedly experienced himself.
Penny, I knew, privately that you had experienced a lot of threats, but I had no idea of the scale of it. So I'm really sorry to hear that. That is an absolutely appalling situation. I'm
still afloat, Cathy. Return fire. So don't worry.
The good ship, Penny Mordaunt. I'm glad to hear that. Just as a former member of Parliament, you hope to return, I know. But do you feel that the protection that you get, the support you get from the police, security, and so on, is up to scratch?
Yes, it is. I certainly, in the cases that I've had since I left Parliament, I've been very impressed with how people have supported me. I know that if someone that doesn't wish me well comes to my door, I can call 999 immediately, and they will know the background, and they will get
an expedited response.
I think where things are slow is in the online space, and it's the paperwork and bureaucracy, particularly things that you need to do to find out where people are if they're doing things from other parts of the world. So that is not as quick. There's a lot of backlog in those things, but by and large, in terms of physical safety, I've been very impressed with what people do, and my local police force, Hampshire, have been brilliant.
I think it's worth noting that women get this a lot worse than men, both women MPs and women broadcasters.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Penny, I want to talk a little bit more broadly about Nigel Farage in just a second, but could I just ask you first, given that you did work with Anne Widdecombe, do you have an anecdote or a sort of memory that you'd like to share with us that sort of sums her up?
It somehow doesn't feel like the day for happy, funny stories, but she was, people who will have got a sense of her, and that was absolutely her. And I remember, there were some very funny occasions. She was going on a particular television show. I think it was Clive Anderson Talks Back, and she was on with some particular guests, and to brief her properly, we had to tell her sort of some kind of Essex slang for very rude sexual acts, and we would draw straws, as to who was going to have to brief her before she did it. She was extremely kind, and I also remember, very junior members of staff. One invited her to come and have dinner at his, kind of one-room studio flat, and she went and met all his friends, and she was just a very lovely lady, and a real character, and a force in public life. And sorry that she's gone, and very sad in these terrible circumstances.
Penny, thank you for sharing that.